Well, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again here at the Old Fly Guy Network. And today we're in Boise, Idaho. And today we're visiting with a very special guest, someone I'm really looking forward to talking to today. And actually, I'm meeting today with Chris Ederle. Chris, thanks for spending some time with me.
Looking forward to it.
And we're really in Chris's backyard, literally and figuratively, here in Boise. And I think I need to start off by clearing the air that Christopher and I are cousins. And that makes this really a special discussion. And Christopher's father and my mother were brother and sister. And so we have a history of growing up together. And when I had this chance we were visiting this upcoming weekend, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to sit with Christopher and kind of talk about his experience, not only in aviation, but as we do here in the Old Fly Guy Network, talk about service and what we give back to the community and to the spirit of aviation. And as you can see, Christopher is in his day job outfit here in his flight suit, and we're going to talk a lot about what he's done in aviation and how he's given back and provided service to this country. And we really appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So before we get started, I think it's also appropriate that I give a little shout out to our mothers who were a big part of not only getting us this far, but really supporting this conversation. Yeah. So for Mary and Audrey, thanks so much for pushing this along and getting us together and having this conversation. It's very unique, and it really supports what I'm trying to do here in the Old Fly Guy Network, but also gives a chance for me to spend more time with family and really explore some more details that, tell you the truth, I didn't know a lot of the things that in preparation for this conversation I learned about in what Christopher has done in his really exciting aviation career. So Christopher, let's start. We talk about we're related, and I think we've spent a lot of time as young people together. But maybe we'll start off with, how did growing up Ederle, which I know a little bit about through my mother, in Ederle, but how did growing up Ederle influence your motivation and you getting started and where you are today from not only a family perspective, but serving the country and in aviation?
Yeah, so I think, like you said, I think growing up Ederle was not that much different than growing up Vaughn, right? I think they were probably very similar. You mentioned, obviously, our mothers. And our fathers, though, is kind of what ends up bringing it all together, because they both went to VMI.
Absolutely, yeah.
Obviously, right there, you're starting with a background of service, a military school, strict military school, which leads to probably a huge influence on how both of our families kind of grew up. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was always in the background. Talking about my father's time in the Army, him talking about his time there, how much it meant to him, how much service meant to him, how, starting with VMI though, just, working hard at VMI, and then which leads to his Army service. So it was always there. We talked about it a lot. He was proud of what he had done. And it was just it wasn't directly,
It was instinctive.
Yeah, it wasn't. There wasn't anything forced on you. It wasn't. It was just the way. It was just the way we
grew up.
Both of us, I think, very similar. And then he was out of the military way before I was born. Mm-hmm. But there was I think he also still continued to have that idea of service that he had from that military time and from VMI, just in day-to-day civilian life.
Well, it was clearly a culture, a spirit of how your father and my father lived,
right,
going through VMI and what it taught them about discipline,
right,
responsibility, and all the things that we grew up that really were those successful stepping stones, or we wouldn't be here today.
Right.
There's no
Yep.
doubt in my mind.
Yep.
And I I remember a conversation with your dad talking. You know, he was always talking about, like you said, the support of the military. And while it wasn't probably something that you said that was forced or anything,
Yep.
it was just part of the fabric
Yep.
of what we grew up in a really wonderful way.
Yep.
An absolutely wonderful way.
So at our house, you know, even when nobody at that time, with my parents and us being young kids, was currently involved in any kind of military service, it was still a big thing. Just if things were going on locally in the community or someone from the community who was serving, like it was still, you know, something that we talked about or paid attention to. So yeah.
And so, again, that's just a great foundation. And while, you know, you highlighted it so well, how that, you know, the foundation was there and the continuous motivation around it, everything you said resonates
Right
from the heart.
Right.
and while we have Ederles and Vaughns, we just having that spirit. And I just, again, I remember visiting with your family, and as we're, you know, playing up to our foundation where we're going, it was always consistent.
Yep.
If I was sitting in your living room, or you were sitting in ours, we got the same message from our family. So with that, you know, the great foundation, how did you kind of take all that, and when was that first spark, you know, something in the back of your mind that you wanted to take that to the next step, not only talk about it, but serve in that role?
I think it didn't really elevate to a step of, you know, of something actually going to come from it until towards the end of high school, when it was time to pick a college and go to college. Yeah, make a decision that's going to make a difference and pick a path. And so I think that's what it was. Like I hadn't really chosen that for myself, like as a kid, or and then in high school I'm just kind of just doing high school, you know, and sports and academics, and then thinking about got to go to college, I'm got to pick my college that I'm going to go to, kind of thing. And that's when the academies became like an option or something to think about, and ended up being something that I was like, well, I think I should at least start the process of making that possible, whether I choose that or not. And so that's kind of, it wasn't until late, and I didn't make my decision until probably almost late as possible, of where am I going to go to an academy or not, was probably, I mean, for me, it wasn't like I was committed to it, and as soon as I had the option, I'm like, I'm doing that. I was like, well, if I don't have to commit to it yet, I'm gonna wait, keep all my options open, keep thinking about this, and then, you know, make the decision that I'm 100% confident in no later than whenever I have to do that. So that's what I did, and I ended up at the Air Force Academy, almost the Naval Academy.
Really?
Yeah, close.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, which you probably never.
I never knew. I just learned something else.
Yeah. And it was at that point it was an aviation
track you were looking for.
Yeah, and so I was a senior in high school, and not yet committed to what I was doing next when Desert Storm was happening. So I graduated from high school in '91, and watched that. That was when the first time you could watch things like that on TV happen in real time, right? That was the new
the 24/7 media.
That's kind of when it was starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember coming home from school every night after practice, and that was on the news, and just watching that. And obviously that was very aviation centered. And of course the coverage was a lot of aviation centered as well. And so I watched that, and, you know, saw people I didn't know at all, but went back to, like, kind of, you could just tell it reminded me of people back to the original discussion of still kind of the military support, and just watching that unfold, the job itself, the service itself, and then part of it was also it was relatively quick. So then folks coming back and who had served, and just the pride they had, but also that everyone else, other people had for them, whether it was families or whatever, coming back. And it was right around then I was like, I think going into aviation and trying to become a pilot in the Air Force seems like,
It seems like something to do.
yeah, seems like something I might be interested in.
Well, it was interesting. I didn't know that about the Navy.
Yeah.
Thanks for that
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
But also, I do remember when, I'd like to say I remember it was my mom or my dad said, Christopher's going to the Air Force Academy. And I thought, wow. It was a little bit of a surprise that I didn't even know that was on the agenda.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up, in more of a background. Dad said, well, you can go to VMI, or VMI.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that never happened, but he was very, strong on that. But that was, it was really cool news. I said, because I don't recall, I may get this wrong, but that we had any other relatives that had gone to one of the academies.
Yeah, I don't think so. And in Air Force in particular was growing up on the East Coast and being from New York was a long ways off too.
Oh yeah.
But it was it all happened very quick, like I said, in that last year, and a lot of it had to do with athletics because I was running track and cross country, and when the coach from Air Force was interested and was basically recruiting me, that's kind of when I was like, Air Force, way over there in Colorado, never been there, didn't really know a whole lot about it. But he was willing to introduce me to it, tell me what it was going to be like, get me out there to visit, and then, so that it wasn't a total surprise or anything. But there was no push prior to that for academies, not even VMI. I don't remember my dad pushing VMI. And then it suddenly became a thing, and then obviously my parents were, as far as I can tell, 100% on board with it, but it was never pushed at all. And it was supported, though. It was 100% supported.
Yeah, well, I would imagine so. I know they were so proud of you. My dad, in particular, would mention at time, hey, Christopher's doing this. Because, again, your dad and my dad talking, they were kept up a lot, and so they shared family stories and was extremely proud of your service and what you were doing. So he was, hey, you're doing this. I just thought it was so cool. I think it's worth a shout out here too, is that your leadership on that and your family, again, your siblings, I think it's, don't want to leave any of that. Why don't you, the background, you have two brothers and one sister, and you had a couple of those actually go into the service as well.
Yeah, so we're all pretty close in age. So my next brother, Brendan, ended up at West Point, a little bit closer to home, and in aviation. I mean, I think he went for aviation. I mean, I think that was his game plan all along.
Okay.
That's definitely where he ended up. Primarily spending time flying Blackhawks, a fair amount of time in special ops, and obviously it was I think a concerted effort to get to West Point and get into the aviation career field, and it worked out great. And he did so much stuff.
Yeah, wonderful.
And then next in line, my sister Megan ended up doing ROTC and went the Army path as well. So we ended up with both of them in the Army. So at that time, there was a period where all three of us were in. And then Megan also did her full 20 years with a break in the middle. So it was actually longer than 20 years, out for a little while and back in, and recently retired out of the Army. So 3 out of the 4 of us ended up in I would say, similar paths.
Right. But I know you guys in there, and while Justin wasn't in service per se, he was part of the team and extremely supportive.
Yes.
And it was you spoke about the closeness of your family, and that's another, I think, significant part of your success.
Yes, you talked about like your dad and how it was no doubt whenever I saw him, he would want to know about what I was doing, want to talk about what I was doing, and really clear that he was proud of what I was doing, similar to my own father.
Yeah.
Your dad was, like you said, really on it, and I would say Justin is the same way with all 3 of us.
Oh, great support, and there was always support in everything you're doing from the family perspective. Not to jump, just to so you got recruited to Air Force.
Yep.
And what was that experience? What if you were to kind of help the outside world understand what that journey was like while the academy? What was that all about?
It was busy. It was hard. It was challenging. I mean, that was part of the like known going in. Like that was one of the reasons to go there was the challenge, um, and then it was everything. It was not nothing was surprise. Some people I think maybe don't even know. They just kind of end up there, and either adapt or don't. I kind of knew what I was getting into. I think the VMI
Right.
background
Yeah.
from kind of helps you have an idea as well. So yeah, it was challenging. It was really busy. It's one of those things where it never seemed to be going fast at the time. Like time was dragging. Like you're just trying to. The 4 years seem really long, and then the 4 years are over, and then
Oh, quick.
and then every year after that, the time seems shorter. Like the time I was there now seems so short, which is a different experience at the time. So yeah, it was it was a from an academic, athletic, military kind of all the strict kind of background. It was all the challenges I thought it would be, and something where you can then get together with your group of compatriots who are doing the same thing, and you have that bond, and you charge on through, and then at the end, you're so much better than you started, and now I'm ready to go to pilot training. Right, that was the goal. By the end, get your assignments, and I'm off to flight training, which is kind of what the objective was.
Yeah, so it does go fast. At the time, it probably thinks it seems
Right.
it took forever.
Right.
But I think again we speak a lot, and I think it's so important. I wanted to make sure I continue to carry it forward. And our conversation is the foundation. You just said one of the sentences that you were kind of ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the discipline, the foundation, the support, and you were ready to make that.
Yeah.
Make the effort.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful experience it sounds like
Very
it was.
rewarding. Yeah.
And then so you went on to flight school.
Yep.
And where does that take place
So
geographically?
I was in Texas.
Okay.
Del Rio, Texas, for 1 year of flight school. By the end, you're going to get your wings. Halfway through, you kind of split. Either you're going to the fighter side of the house, or you're going to the heavy side of the house. So all of us are together for the first half of it, and then the class splits into two, and you kind of focus more on which side of the business
aircraft you're.
Yep. Yep. So that was in Texas. Lived there for 1 year, and then started moving every 2 or 3 years after that.
Well, that was one of the things too. I've always where's Christopher now?
Yeah.
Oh, he's in Alaska, or he's over here, or he's over here, and did some stuff overseas, and we'll talk more about all that. But so you got started, and once you got through your flight training, what aircraft did you start flying right away? How did that go?
Yep. So I ended up, you first select the tracks into the fighter track, and then they give you the list for each class has, for the exact number of graduates, there's that exact number of assignments to a different aircraft.
Okay.
So for me, it was the F-15E, so the Strike Eagle. So I forget how many were in my class. There might have been 3, but in the end, they just say there's 3 F-15Es, there's 1 F-15C, there's 3 F-16s, whatever it is. They just give you there's the list, and then you're going to get matched.
Okay.
Down the line.
You get kind of a little bit of a choice, or do they slot you to your skill set, or
no,
how does that work?
I can't say you 100% get a choice. You make your selection based on what's left. They tell you when you're selecting based on how they racked you coming out of the training.
Okay.
So it's definitely based. You're not looking to just graduate pilot training. You're looking to graduate towards the top, so you have a say.
Okay.
But yeah, 100% your choice, except the last guy, your choice is the one thing that's left.
Okay.
But when you're the second to last, you have the choice of 2. So yeah, no, you definitely. So I'd wanted the F-15E. I was not first in my class, but I was close enough that there was at least one left.
Okay.
I don't remember the numbers, to be honest with you. But there was at least the one.
Right.
And so I selected that, finished up pilot training, and then I was on to F-15E training, Strike Eagle training, which is in North Carolina.
Okay.
And then stayed in that airframe the entire time I was in active duty, and basically still to this day.
Yeah.
Which we're
going to talk about that in a minute, but yeah, okay. Pretty nice, like you said, airframe platform to work out of.
Yeah,
so
it gave a lot of opportunities, and kind of back to what probably brought me into the academy in the first place. It was I remember kind of making its debut, if you will, in Desert Storm and all that, seeing what it was capable of. It gave you a lot of options. I liked where you could go fly them, where you where you might live, and also what they brought to the fight, and being both an air-to-air and air-to-ground role kind of opens up again with all kinds of opportunities.
Things.
Yeah.
And so maybe to put things in perspective, again, you also stayed a full 20 years, 20 years, months, with 20 years, plus you've got some other stuff going now. But in that time frame, map out where you went. Just kind of put things in perspective. Where you were in Texas, North Carolina.
Yep.
What were the duty stations?
So I did the 1 year in Texas for flight school, and then once I was into the F-15, then I did a year, roughly a year of training in North Carolina, and now you're ready to go to an operational combat unit after that. So the 1 year is just baseline F-15E training. So then once I graduated that and was ready to go to an operational squadron, it was over to England, Lakenheath, England, and I did 3 years over there. And then it was back to North Carolina to teach. So 1 year on the operational side doing that, and then it was right back to North Carolina where I graduated 3 years ago to be checked out as an instructor to start teaching the next wave of guys.
Oh, okay. Once again, didn't know that. But how long were you overseas?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yep, 3 years there, and then back to North Carolina. I did 3 years as an instructor there, and then the only non-flying assignment I did was just 1 year over to Korea, working as a liaison, Army Air Force liaison.
Okay.
In ALO, stationed in Korea, and it was like I said, it was the 1 year out of the jet, but it was the benefit there is by taking that I was able to kind of control my next assignment, and I wanted to keep flying the Strike Eagle, and I wanted to go to Alaska for all kinds of reasons. It was just never been and really wanted to go.
Okay.
So I was able to do that. Took an assignment to back into flying in another operational unit up in Alaska. Only got 2 years out of that because that squadron moved.
Okay.
So then I went with that squadron, moved with them to here in Idaho to Mountain Home. Did another 3 years with an operational squadron in Mountain Home, and then back to the schoolhouse again. So I did another 2 years back to North Carolina teaching.
Okay.
2 more years teaching in North Carolina. 1 year after that, I did 1 more year teaching in Saudi Arabia. So a 1 year assignment to Saudi, instructing in a Saudi squadron where they had F-15s.
So you were not American when you were over there. These were not Americans you were training then?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And so there was always a small cadre of U.S. instructors we would cycle through on 1 year assignments. And so I did that for 1 year as well. There's always a handful of us over there. So kind of, again, a nice, small, small community of us, but integrated with the Saudi squadron. Very similar jet. It's their version of the Strike Eagle.
Okay.
It was a F-15S, which minor differences, but otherwise basically the same thing. So I taught them for a year, and then it was by doing that kind of overseas year, I was kind of able to control my follow-on again, and I wanted to come back to Idaho, back to where I am now, because the intent was to retire in 2 years.
Because you were here, you said Mountain Home.
Yeah.
And when you were here, you weren't at this residence, were you?
I was.
You were.
Not the very first time. When I came back after Saudi, that's when we moved in here.
Okay.
And spent 2 years on active duty, and then retired, and so that was about 10 years ago.
Right.
And then I've stayed
Hard
since.
to believe. It seems like just yesterday we were coming for that.
The retirement.
Yeah. What a wonderful time that was.
10 years.
Yeah. Wow. So what a interesting, all over the place.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
And the training, again, I didn't, a big part. So is that kind of a normal routine for someone that is to get to kind of recycle that knowledge back into the training side?
I probably did a little bit more. Like the amount of time I had with 2 assignments back to North Carolina is probably more. Often someone will get 1. It worked out that I was back there pretty quickly. So once I was back on did 1 assignment in the operational unit, and then right back again. So that kind of opened up a lot more time to possibly come back again as well. It's good. It has its good and its bad. It's a different lifestyle than being in an operational unit where you may be deploying all the time.
Right.
You get an opportunity to do you're teaching all the time. I mean, you're just doing a lot. It's just a different version of being a teacher, but you're not really expecting to do a whole lot of deployments or be away from home. So it's kind of a good settling.
It's a little bit of more home time.
Yep.
Exposure.
And a little more predictable. The schedule's a little more predictable. So yeah, I ended up doing a fair amount of it, a fair amount of years in that business as well.
So were, I guess maybe the overseas time, were you in theater, a combat environment, or any type of, what kind of scenarios did you have exposure to?
So it varied quite a bit. My first assignment as a young lieutenant and captain over to Lake Neath when I was in England was basically where I, oddly enough, got all of my combat time as a young guy. So, and the majority of it as, a wingman, not even checked out as a flight lead, or certainly not an instructor yet, because I would get that training right after leaving there. And so that was a fair amount of bouncing around with, again, the deployments were a little less predictable, but kind of they would just pop up and we would go. And that was time in Iraq, and then supporting the operations in Kosovo and Serbia in that time frame. And that was really it. After that, all of my other, even when I was in operational units, it just kind of depends how the timing comes around.
Right.
We would deploy, but a lot of our deployments were not to combat operations. You were doing maybe just a presence kind of thing. And that's what I ended up spending the other operational assignments doing. So whether it was to, sometimes it was over towards the Middle East just to have a presence, and sometimes it was in the Asian theater to have a presence over in that direction across the Pacific. So it was kind of odd that it was very front loaded on the actual combat experience. Yeah. As a young guy with no experience, that's where I got all the combat experience.
Yeah. Well, that probably paid off in your training and your ability to train and bring that knowledge back.
Yeah. So then I spend more time teaching other folks who would then keep filling and do the other deployments. But the timing just worked out that way for me on the later part of my career.
What kind of time frame were you away on a typical deployment?
A lot of those were shorter than maybe they have drifted over the years, and some of them have gotten longer, like I'd say post 9/11, some of them got longer. Some of them were about 3 months, maybe 6 months, but I didn't have any that were pushing a year, other than when I was doing like a year, like my year in Korea, not flying, was considered like a remote assignment. My year in Saudi Arabia when I was flying was considered a remote assignment, but they weren't deployments. They were just remote assignments.
That's where you were.
So those are the times when I was furthest away from home, if you will, was actually on those assignments. But otherwise the deployments were probably majority like 3 to 6 months.
Okay. And speaking of being away from home, let's talk about your family here.
Yeah.
And had some time to spend some wonderful time over the last day here so far, but let's talk about them a little bit and what kind of pressures that lifestyle puts on them.
Yeah, so I would say it puts a lot, but I also was unique in that at the time when I was doing all these deployments, including the remote assignments, I was single. I was not married.
Okay.
And so I would see it with I didn't fully appreciate it probably with the other guys I was flying with.
Right.
I was
had family.
Right, had family, had young kids. I was always, my hand was up for the next deployment. I was ready to go. I didn't have to worry about that at all. So if whenever we're going, I'm a volunteer to go kind of thing. And a lot of those, like I said, later on, they weren't combat operations. But if you had a couple of young kids at home, just kind of starting a family, 6 months going somewhere, and you're actually not even doing combat operations.
Right.
You're just kind of
you got to be there, presence, like you talked about.
Yeah, and that's hard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I saw that all the time, but I don't think until I can't imagine it, but I feel like I can't imagine like if I was the one leaving it, then how much harder it would have been than it was for me. So
Mm-hmm.
I was not leaving behind an immediate family. You know, I had the rest of my family. I'm sure my mom was fully stressed every time I
Oh,
left, but
sure,
I wasn't. You know, we
sure.
were living on opposite sides of the country. We didn't see each other every day anyway. I wasn't
Right.
leaving behind, a young daughter or something. So when I got married was right before I retired, kind of last assignment here. I was married and still didn't have a child at that point, and my daughter wasn't born until after I retired. So I I kind of got away easy on that side,
Mm-hmm.
and was able to do all the traveling, do the deployments, kind of be comfortable with it, and not have to have the stresses of leaving a family behind. So, and we've talked about this. That's kind of how I end up now in the job I'm doing now is very much home oriented. Obviously, I'm not active duty, not in the military, not deploying. Just live here and
Right.
teaching. Um, Also different than maybe a commercial airline pilot lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
where you leave you're not deploying for 6 months or
No.
anything, but you leave a lot. You're back and forth. You have a lot of time at home and
Mm-hmm.
then a little time away. And I kind of like being able to be home now with my daughter's age. You know, she's 8 now, and from the last couple of years, being able to you know almost always see her every day, as opposed to having to even do short times out of town, has been really good. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what's left me pretty comfortable in what I'm doing now.
Yeah, wonderful family. Just had it's amazing how, like you said, time flies. I do remember your retirement, and then now you've got a child who's 8. I
Yep.
was reminded
Yep. Yep.
last evening, and just a fun group to be around. And I think let's talk about what you're doing now a little
Yeah.
bit. So you went from retiring, whatever that means,
Right.
and you're doing
That's right.
something here again.
Yeah.
So how did that career experience transition to what you're
Yeah.
doing now?
So many people probably do know retiring from the military doesn't usually actually mean retiring. It means retiring from the military, and just that portion. So when it was time for me to pick my retirement job, which of course would be another full-time job of some sort, I'd already been in Mountain Home here in Idaho, flying with an operational squadron. I knew I would have 2 years to my retirement, and probably going to retire right at the 20-year point, which is what I did. And while I was flying with the U.S. operational squadrons, there's a third squadron on the base that is a Singaporean squadron. So they have their own version of the F-15 Strike Eagle as well, F-15 SG, very similar, very easy to transition between the two of them and fly them both. So while I was still active duty, I would come down with them and instruct, just kind of as guest help, coming down to fill some instructional lines every now and then, not even every week, but every month for at
Yep.
least a couple of flights, a couple of sorties a month. I'd be down there flying with them. And when I retired, there was a position opening up where they were hiring contract instructors who were previous Strike Eagle background, previously flying the similar airframe. And so for me, the transition was
You went from one building to another building.
took the rank off, changed the uniform, and just took a little bit of leave, and then came back and just started flying with them as a civilian contract instructor pilot. I've been doing that for the last 10 years. So very much teaching. I mean, it's you're a teacher,
Right.
so definitely no deployments, none of even the other additional duties that you had as a military officer. None of that is there. The rank is gone. I'm a mister, and just each day I'm going to work, it's to teach them what I've picked up over the last too many years, flying the same airframe.
That's valuable stuff. I mean, you can't give someone a pill and say, here that is, and you can't just give them a manual or
Right.
whatever. There's stuff that you're bringing to the table that is clearly unique and clearly valuable, that you're still, you're doing this
Yep.
for 10 years. Remind me again, what rank did you retire at?
Retired as lieutenant colonel.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
As did Megan, did my sister.
Yes.
Retired as lieutenant colonel. Yep.
Yeah.
And Brennan separated as a major. Yeah.
What a great. So you've been doing this. I did want to ask you, because it struck me, you mentioned commercial. Is there Was there any? Was there ever a desire to go into commercial? I see.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times I've been on a plane and the fellow
Yeah.
and the captain says, "Well, you know, when I was flying C-130s or whatever."
Yep.
So, what was your thoughts around that at all?
Very common. A lot of, I mean, I know a lot of folks around the area here who retired out either before me, same time as me, or after me, and we're still in touch. There's a really good community here locally in Boise with folks, especially. I mean, I'm sure all kinds of backgrounds, but the number who flew Strike Eagles who are here, still here, and the majority of the pilots I knew are probably in the airlines.
Okay.
So I'm still, you know, exposed to that all the time, talking to them about their jobs, and where they're going, what they're doing. Great opportunities for them to travel and still see all kinds of different things. For me, it was obviously there's the excitement of still flying in F-15.
Yeah.
And it's an unusual position. There's not a lot of opportunities to do it. So there are, where I'm working now, there are 4 pilots that are retirees who are doing that job, and then 2 WIZZOs, 2 backseaters in the Strike Eagle. So there's a total of 6 flyers who are out of the 6, 5 retired, 5 are fully retired, did their 20 or more, so older, and then one of the 6 of us didn't do a full 20, separated earlier, and now is doing that. So it's not common. So I had the opportunity, and it's an opportunity to still keep flying a pretty impressive airframe, and what most people would consider a really fun job, and teach and do what I've been doing for my whole adult life that I enjoy doing, or to completely change, which is also another challenge. You know, that's another way to look at it, right? Why not try something different? And for me, it comes down to what we talked about before of kind of having a predictable schedule home all the time. It was too enticing while being able to still fly in F-15 to make the jump.
It sounds like it's a win-win.
Yeah,
to me, and I bet some of those, I would imagine that maybe some of your friends that have done commercial, they probably miss a few of those days. They can go out to the tarmac and get in that aircraft.
Yeah, for sure. There's the pluses and minuses, right? And the conversation is always, well, how long can you really keep doing this for? I mean, it is a somewhat physically demanding thing, flying a fighter, where there comes a point where, you know, your neck or your back or something.
Well, you're getting so old.
Yes,
I mean, you're really.
I am. Yes.
I think when we talk about you're a youngster, but to think you talk yourself in old as far as from a flying
in the scheme of the fighter, in the big scheme of the fighter community, pretty old. So yeah, but I do think most guys who have previously flown would love to get back again for a couple sorties here or there. And right now I'm doing it all the time, and there'll become a point where all the time is probably too much. It's time to hand it off to somebody else.
You could have worse days.
You could, yes.
And worse options.
Yeah.
And so very, very good. Hats off to you. It sounds like you really, really enjoy it, and you've leveraged that to take that service, the military background, your experience, play it forward, spend time with your family.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's a good balance.
It's
right
hard
now.
to hard to complain too much about that. Probably.
Try
not to.
Try not to.
Yes.
It's always fun to complain about stuff, but I mean, sometimes you got to realize that you're in.
You got to stop and look in the mirror sometimes. So we're all so proud of you. It's so cool. When you fly in some of those, whether they were maybe combat missions or out in different places, anything ever go less than perfect? I mean, were there things anything that you could talk about that was, boy, we planned this, but it didn't go that way? Or did you ever have a, oh my God moment?
I think the thing is, it's like, almost, it's all the time, right? There's always something like that happening. I honestly don't have like one particular incident. I don't think like when you ask me that question, if I just immediately try to think of one, like the one time when like that was the one, like I don't really have one. I probably have a lot that are kind of in the middle.
Right.
I don't have one that spikes to like that's crazy time. But it's almost, I mean, that's part of the either the challenge or the fun of it, is that almost never does everything go the way you thought it was going to. So you're always reacting to whatever it turns out is going on. And I'd say it happens a lot too, just on it happens on a combat sortie, right? Or and maybe the risk is higher because you're getting shot at. But then there's it happens on a day-to-day basis, just doing basic teaching where you're trying to teach somebody who's brand new, maybe never even flown the jet before at all, which I've had.
That to me has got to be probably a little bit of a
right. So just like 2 days ago was somebody first ever flight in the F-15. So still doing those as well, and those are there's always surprises, right? So you don't know what it's going to be. Once you've been around a while, you can kind of predict. You recognize some of them. You're anticipating some of them, but no matter what. And we joke about it all the time, especially with like I said, a number of older guys and that I work with now. Some of us have been around a long time. Every now and then, someone comes back, and you're like, "That was a new one. I did not expect that one." It's similar, right? It's similar. You're going to react similarly. But it's like that. Nope, I did not.
Didn't see that coming.
Didn't see that coming, and then you just react. And
so the folks that you're teaching here, are they nationalities from Singapore?
Yeah.
And so they train here and then they go back.
Yeah, so they do a lot of their training dispersed, just based on the small size of Singapore, the amount of airspace available, all that. So they own the aircraft. It's a U.S. flagged squadron, so in technically a U.S. squadron on a U.S. base, but they own everything. So it's a little bit of a weird mix. So the commander of the unit is an active duty American who's assigned to Mountain Home.
Oh, wow.
So there's 4. At all times, assuming the manning allows, there's 4 active duty U.S. Air Force flyers in the squadron that help maintain it and run it, in addition to a much larger number of Singaporean flyers.
So it's capable to go into active duty, this unit? These 4 people, they could be deployed?
They could get pulled back to the U.S. side of the house.
Okay, but the aircraft, no.
The aircraft,
but just
no.
the people.
Yes, the aircraft are 100% owned by Singapore. They're on the base with us and interact with the U.S. squadrons off and on as well for training purposes, and obviously sharing all of the same support facilities. Like they have their own cadre of maintainers taking care of the aircraft. So all of those guys are over here, similar to
So they're learning to go back.
Yes. So they will cycle kind of like I had done for my career, every 2 to 3 years moving. They'll come out here for 2 to 3 years and then may go back to Singapore to some other job.
So it will be that long. I was curious how long they would stay here.
So it's not just like a 1 year of training and they go back. They are here and they're at all different levels. So some of them are coming here to do their very basic training that I did in North Carolina, and we'll teach them that. And some of them are here to learn how to be instructors, and we're teaching them that. So on any given day, one day you could be flying with a guy who is on his first ever flight, and then the next day you're flying with somebody who's got quite a bit of hours, and you're teaching them how to be an instructor. So they'll do, and just because they graduate as an instructor doesn't mean they leave and go back to Singapore. They have their own instructor cadre here as well. So you're teaching side by side with them.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of everything.
Right, and I culturally
different.
Fits?
Yeah, culturally different. So obviously the cultures are very different.
Okay.
And I would say this squadron has the cultural background of a Singaporean squadron.
Okay.
It's evident that it's their squadron, and
right.
It's their cultures, their personalities, and I've been living in that now for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And you
probably have acclimated.
You don't even think about it.
Right.
But it's certainly got different. And some of our cultural things or the way we fly, we are, trying to bring to them intentionally. And some of what they have, like, they're bringing to us, and it just becomes part of how you interact with folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting when I asked you about the kind of backing up one step, if something doesn't go right, it's funny. No, it's consistent. That's the word I'll use. What you said, and I've had the pleasure of speaking with a number of military aviators, and that's the mindset. Yep. It's not that something went totally, oh my God. It's really, that's what we prepare for. And that's not always considered an oh my God. That's just that's what we do.
And some of them are the oh my gods.
Yeah, but you adjust to it, and you know that it's all about change and reacting to what's really going to happen. So it's part of that training and that skill set that you have and able to deal with the different scenarios. When we're talking about kind of the aviation experience and what you've done, what kind of advice, sage wisdom as an older aviator.
Right.
Would you share with younger people that are thinking about whether it's an Air Force career, a military career,
Yeah.
maybe it's flying, maybe it's on the boots on the ground, whatever it may
Yep.
be, but where you've had to learn a lot of things, seen the benefits, seen the challenges. What kind of thinking to keep? Part of the message I like to bring to the table is, a lot of people think, oh, we can never do that,
Right.
or we don't see the value in that, and so how might you help send that message?
For me, I've found it extremely rewarding, right? And that's part of it where, a lot of times you'll get folks, even to this day, even though I'm not active duty anymore, sometimes it's because I'm wearing a uniform people don't recognize, but, people thank you for your service. They thank you for, whether they know what you've done or not,
Right.
or whether they know you or not. You get that a fair amount. And it's always kind of a weird feeling because, like I just said, it's rewarding for me to be able to, I guess what I've done, you can flip it to its selfish side of it almost.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's kind of it's an
You're
awkward
lucky.
feeling where they're
Yep.
like, thank you for your service. You're like, you almost feel guilty. Like I
Yeah.
really actually enjoy what I
do.
and it gives you a good feeling to be able to do that. Service. I don't know. So it's always kind of been that weird thing. So what I would say is, one, like it's extremely rewarding. It's not something the sacrifice, and maybe not for everybody, but like everybody I know, I guess,
Right.
the people I've,
Your experience.
yeah, my experience would be the sacrifice is part of the reward too, in the end. Like whether it's because, I can tell that you appreciate what I've done. You know what I mean? There's like, to the point where it's almost uncomfortable sometimes, right? You're like, I get that.
You have a humble perspective.
I guess, and so that would be part of it, right? I would say just like there's so many benefits to that, and I think it can make you feel good about what you're doing in your life, and your service hopefully is helping.
It's
in some way.
it can be a great career.
And it's a great career. So the challenge of it, I think, is also tied into that, right? The whole challenge of people like to do things for challenging reasons all the time. Like it's just it's just a great way to go through life. So if you think, oh, it's too challenging, well, that's half the fun of it, right? Is to see if you can do it. And there's so many great opportunities, whether it's the travel or aviation, the aviation side of it. Like if someone is interested in flying, but you're not sure you want to do it in the military, I would say, try it.
Right, exactly. What a great step. I mean, when you get that far, and then if you want to try something else, I mean, it just seems to would be an add-on to something that's pretty...
It opens up a lot of opportunities. Yeah, so I mean, it started right, like for me, right, with going to the academy, opens up opportunities. You work hard to get through it, you do your best, and then see what else it opens up. And, probably keep trying to open more and more doors that give you the chance to do something you like while serving, and whatever that means to you, or kind of however that plays out. I think there's a lot to be gained from
the whole experience.
Yeah.
That's really, really, really cool, to say the least. It's very. I don't think that many people, a lot of people understand all the different opportunities but there's a commitment involved.
Yeah.
And we talked about some of the family strains and all those things.
That's for
and
sure.
but nothing in life, as we were all taught early on, came for free.
Right.
And look at some of the benefits and the wonderful family and the experience you've had, which can be attainable.
Right.
And so I think it's really great that hopefully people will watch this and see the message and see, look, Christopher's done this. He worked hard at it. Look what you can get out of it. Maybe I could be something I would enjoy and have the same kind of rewards. Did I get it wrong? So this could be a data point I got wrong.
Yeah.
But with some of your missions, I think it would be stateside here, but did you fly escort or did you do anything? I thought somebody was trying to tell me you might have flown in support of Air Force One or something like that? Or
We would do.
you would do some support on that. And what's that look like?
It's been a long time. But that was mostly a post 9/11 kind of thing, which started right away. Like as soon as airspace was opening up again, where the mission is basically you're not necessarily, you could be, but I never did anywhere. I was flying on the wing of Air Force One in an escort role, but you're just protecting airspace that someone's not supposed to be in, or no one's supposed to be in.
Right.
And the majority of the time, whoever's there doesn't even know they're there. And you can find probably all kinds of funny stuff on if you search for it. You hear it every now and then on the news. Somebody just wanders into some airspace they're not supposed to be in.
My quick story on that: last weekend, I was going to literally just go up and do some competency, some pattern work, and in my little airport, in my little Cessna 172, and I looked at the flight schedule of all the planes, and I noticed at 11 o'clock, all the planes came off the schedule that next day I was going to fly. And I thought, what the heck is going on? They are not all service, whatever. And one of them referenced a TFA. And so I went to the NOTAMs and I looked, and sure enough, the president was flying into Norfolk last weekend for and so they had everything from ground to 18,000 was off limits
and
all the way. And my little airport that I fly out of was in that.
Right.
And so
and you saw it, and not everybody, but somebody else coming from other.
Somebody might have, I would like, because we're all supposed to check the NOTAMs, right?
Yeah, right.
And how much of that, and I'm sure controllers, and if you had a flight plan going, but someone's going to say, hey, by the way, it's probably not a good idea for you to be flying it, or you'll meet one of the F-15.
So that's probably what you're referring to. I did some of those missions there. I guess lucky for me, they were generally pretty boring. But yes, it was. There's some piece of sky where no one's supposed to be, and you're just making sure that is the case. And if someone wanders in, you help them out.
Right. Yeah, help. I've always think that would be just a really bad day.
Yeah.
To have something like that, somebody in your position fly up next to you and then have to do something about
I think
it.
It's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah. If somebody was really doing something foolish, I'd like to think most times it's just a mistake, and and they're in the wrong place at the right time, type of thing. But well, I don't know, Christopher. Once again, as we kind of started here today, this probably. The group that I'll be able to share this with, they probably think, boy, this is a little different venue.
You're right.
And a little different set we have going here today. We're not sitting on a tarmac or in a cockpit or in a hangar somewhere, but this has been perfect.
Yeah.
And I am really thankful that, one, we're going to have some fun this weekend doing some other stuff that we won't bore everyone with right now, but getting to spend time with family, getting to sit here with you. And as I sort of tipped you off before we started talking, I've learned a lot in discussion, getting ready for this. You think we know our families, and I've learned a lot more in talking with you, and it's just been a real pleasure.
Yeah,
and I
appreciate
everything you've done. And it just, for me, it's made our relationship, our family relationship, just one bit stronger. And I think it's pretty strong to start with.
Yeah.
So really great. Congratulations for everything that you've been successful with. Once again, moms, thank you. Mary, he couldn't have got here without you. We know that. And so thank you very much for helping him through all that. And it's just been great. And I thank you. And I don't know if there's anything else we should share with the group.
Probably not. But
listen, before we ruin it and get something out there.
But I'm so glad to have you at the house, and we're gonna have a lot of fun in the next couple of days with some other family coming in and whatnot. And So
family is extremely important. It was important to your success, and just to kind of repeat on that again, we start with family.
Yeah.
We talked about the family connection. We talked about the strength in that to your career, and how you've turned that in aviation and making aviation fun, giving back. it's really was really cool. So this has been a fun conversation
Yes.
for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for the time.
Thank you.
And we're going to have some fun. And so we hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. And sitting back here in the kind of the early morning, but just a beautiful day here in Boise as we started off. And I think it's going to be a beautiful afternoon. So hope you enjoyed it. As always, you know, watch that turbulence, look for those blue skies, and we look forward to talking to you again on that next Old Fly Guy Conversation.